And welcome to another Cardinals Nest here on HBC TV 25, where we talk St. Mary's University athletics. I'm Dean Beckman, the faculty athletic representative for the Cardinals. Donnie Netto is our sports information director. And Donnie, today we're going to be introducing two new head coaches at St. Mary's. And our first guest here, Ryan Egan, while he's a new head coach for St. Mary's, he's no stranger to this program or to St. Mary's.
That's right. Yeah, Ryan, welcome back, first off. It's hard to believe that we're going to be talking hockey already. We've still got volleyball, soccer, cross country, all of our fall sports going, and yet here we go diving into the winter sports as well. So a busy time for St. Mary's, and Ryan, you get to be our first technically winter coach on board. Welcome aboard.
Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
So Ryan, you've been on the Cardinals Nest before as golf coach and also assistant hockey coach. Now you're back on the program, and we're introducing you as our new head men's hockey coach at St. Mary's. Nice ring to it, doesn't it?
No, it does. It does, and I can't say it enough how honored and humbled I am to be sitting in this chair now. It's been a long-term goal for me for a long time, so really excited to be here. And to have the opportunity to do it back at St. Mary's is even kind of icing on the cake.
And I'm not going to make you dwell all the way back, but talk a little bit about the road that got you here, because you have worn a number of different hats at a number of different places. Talk a little bit about your progression to get to St. Mary's.
Yeah, no, it started, back in college. I graduated from college, and I went to school to be a teacher. Was offered a job to coach midget AAA hockey in Omaha, Nebraska. And having that experience over 2 years it made me understand that coaching was going to be my path. And so from that experience, we ended up going into junior hockey. Spent a couple of years in junior hockey, and then found my way to St. Mary's. And at St. Mary's, wore a number of hats, but took a role from being a head coach for 5 years into being an assistant coach for 5 years, which was an interesting turn in my career. After being an assistant for 5 years, I understood that being an assistant coach just really wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't something that I could see myself doing long term. Ended up going back to junior hockey for 4 years. Back in the NA3 and then the North American Hockey League. Had an opportunity to develop and coach and work with Division I hockey players, which was fantastic, a great experience for me, which I think that kind of propelled my career into potentially giving me an opportunity to be at this level. So now we're here back at St. Mary's in a head coaching position, which was the ultimate goal years ago, and excited to be here.
When you saw the opening at St. Mary's and you knew that you might want to get back into collegiate hockey, what is it about St. Mary's that drew you to the position? Obviously, you had familiarity with it. What did you learn about St. Mary's and Division III hockey when you were here as an assistant that made you want to come back and be the head coach?
Well, first off, it was a difficult decision for me to leave the first time, even though I decided I wanted to be a head coach. I mean, St. Mary's is it's a place that's contagious. It's a place you want to be, especially myself and my wife having 2 young kids. When we were here the first time, we felt like this was a place we could be at long term, because it was a place that we wanted our kids to be around, the people that we wanted our kids to be around. And now being here, it's a fantastic community. It's a great place. It's a place you enjoy to come to work every day. It's a place that when you go out and recruit, you feel proud to talk about St. Mary's with potential student athletes. And I think that right there, I knew it was somewhere I wanted to be. I knew it was somewhere I wanted to be long term, just because it's an easy conversation to have about what great a place it is.
Talk a little bit about the difference between the head coach at a Division III school like St. Mary's and the head coach of a junior team, because I know there are a lot of differences in your responsibilities, as well as just kind of coaching in general in the juniors compared to D3.
Yeah, so junior hockey is really outcome focused. It's a development-based system where you're developing players to eventually move on to another level of hockey. So my time was spent developing players on and off the ice, but also communicating with college programs, and that was our ultimate goal, was to find them a home after junior hockey. Now I still think we're a development-focused program, and that we want kids to come to St. Mary's as student athletes, and we just want them to keep improving as students and as athletes. The outcomes are just different. We want to provide them a fantastic experience while they're at St. Mary's playing hockey, but the outcome, as though some of them may want to play pro hockey, and we may be able to provide those outcomes, the eventual outcome is a path within a career. And so just two different focuses within junior hockey and college hockey.
You know, you talked in my class the other day, and a lot of your hockey players were in that particular class. And one of the things you said there said, boy, it's good to be back in the classroom again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it gives you a chance to be in that environment with them, but also see what it's like for them when they're not at hockey practice, right? Maybe talk about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I knew teaching was going to be part of my life from a very young age. So now I just feel like being on campus and being on a college campus just fits more of who I am as a teacher. Not that I teach a lot different when it comes to the game of hockey. I just think that the higher ed atmosphere is just more of what I've been looking for in again, part of that long-term goal. So I'm excited to be back part of that culture, and I enjoy speaking with classes whenever I have the opportunity. That's always fun too. Mm-hmm. We spend a lot of time in our own little bubble within our hockey team, right? So it's nice, and especially up on campus, to branch out and get a chance to have conversations with other students on campus.
And when you're in the rink, he can yell. You can't do that in the classroom.
Yeah, a little more difficult.
Ryan, talk about the first couple of weeks. You guys kicked off middle of October. You got your first chance to be on the ice with the players. Talk a little bit about that experience for you, because you've done it as an assistant. Now you were the guy running the show. Was there some butterflies as you stepped on the ice that first time?
I don't think there was too many butterflies. I think we were all pretty eager to get started. Everyone was kind of wondering how it was going to be. You know, I didn't know exactly what my group looked like on the ice, and we had a pretty good idea what kind of human beings we had off the ice. But what was our group look like on the ice? And I think there was a lot of question marks for the athletes as well. What was things going to look like with me being the new head coach? So I think, honestly, the first week and a half couldn't have gone any better. I think we're still figuring each other out. But I think what we've got is we've created I'm not going to say future, but in this first week and a half, we've created an atmosphere of really working hard and really being committed to the culture that we're trying to create. And I think the guys have really bought in at this point, and I like the direction things are going.
You know, we're going to have Sarah Murray, the new women's hockey coach, on the program next. And one of the things that you and her have helped to create is sort of a big exhibition showcase coming up this upcoming Saturday, where you'll play an exhibition game, her team will play an exhibition game, activities, festivities in between. Maybe tell us more about the concept for that day, and the public is certainly invited.
Right. I think Sarah and I both being new, we only get to be new once. Right? So we want to make as big a splash as we can early on, especially in the community. We want the community to know that we want their support. We want them to come up and support our athletes. And we thought this was a great way to kind of kick off both of our seasons and inviting the public up. It's a unique setting that it's an exhibition game, so we don't have to charge admission. It's a little, I'm not going to say it's not serious. It's not as serious. It's a little more relaxed of an atmosphere because we're all still learning, and it is an exhibition game. So to have people up and have activities and have maybe a few more distractions involved in this game wasn't as big a deal as it would be for a regular season game or a conference game. So it just seemed like a good event to get people up on campus, to get them to meet our players, for us to engage with the community. So I think we're both really excited for Saturday. It should be a good event.
Yeah, and Donnie, it's kind of an all-day event,
It
right?
absolutely is. It starts with a 2 o'clock exhibition for the women. There's a whole bunch of activities after the women's game, including a skate with the Cardinals, both the men and the women, and then the men play at 7 o'clock. Ryan, talk a little bit, you talk about the engagement of the community, and I know a couple weeks ago you had your first engagement with the alumni, and you had a kind of a gathering, a meet and greet up in the Twin Cities, and you have talked to me about the importance of engaging our alumni base, and talk a little bit about your approach to what you want to do in getting our alums involved in Cardinal men's hockey.
Yeah, there's a few different approaches, and we've definitely made it a priority. You know, the one thing I've said, and it's something that I've developed over time, and just how I want to create, what kind of culture I want to create. We have one of the most historical programs in all of college hockey, just as far in terms of as long as we've been in existence in men's hockey. And I don't feel as a program we can ever be as successful as we want to be without the engagement of our alums. Our guys, again, I talk about bubbles. Our guys live in a little bubble. They see the same faces every day. They need to feel that impact that the guys before them had before they came to this program, that they're playing for something more than just themselves and just the university. They're playing for a group of gentlemen that have blood, sweat, and tears into this program, and that's a big part of what we want to create within our group. We want to engage our alumni to come back and talk to our players. We want to engage them in a number of different ways, and this last couple weeks ago was just a start of that. We hope we can continue to build the engagement between our athletes and our alums.
Ryan, we'll have you back in a few weeks and do kind of a season preview, so don't want to get too much into the team right now, but you had said earlier that, when the season started, you of course wanted to see what you had in the team. They were curious about how you were going to be as a head coach. So as a new head coach taking over a team, how did you go about to get some buy-in from the players?
Well, I think it's hockey players are all the same. They want to work hard, and they want to be vested, and they want to know that they're learning something. And I think we've engaged them mentally into what we're trying to teach them and get buy-in, and we've really tried to add a lot of credibility in what we're teaching with the video that we're showing and things. And I think that's what's got them excited, is that they're playing, I think, a good brand of hockey that they're excited about. It allows for creativity on the offensive side and a lot of structure on the defensive side. And when we created that atmosphere, just even before we got started, I think that there's been a lot of buy-in just with that piece itself.
Is that the biggest learning curve maybe for you and the players, is maybe the systems that you're going to run, because it probably is a little bit different than what the returners are used to? Is that kind of the biggest learning curve for you guys right now? I
think so. I think, for me it was establishing work ethic and what was our work ethic going to be out of the gate, what I could expect from the guys, and then from them I definitely think they all have this vision of what they think the game or their game should look like as a team, and I think we've created a system and put systems in place that have maybe not matched what they thought, but have a similar identity to what they were hoping to have. At least that's my thoughts at this point. We'll kind of see how things go moving forward.
And you've got to be excited, right? You're taking over a team that went up to Concordia last year and won a playoff game, right? And a lot of those same players are returning again this year.
Yeah, there's no question about that. I mean, there's no question we have to continue to build on the success we had within conference last year and made the playoffs, and continue to improve that. One of our focus is going to be our non-conference schedule and finding more success within our non-conference schedule as well. So excited that we have a lot of belief. I don't think I've ever taken over a team that has as much belief in themselves as this group. Having made playoffs last year, the expectations for themselves this year are much higher. So that's a good place for me to start as well.
Yeah. Finally, Ryan, last question. I'll bet your family is happy to have you here full time, right? Because they didn't always travel every stop you made along the way, right? So.
Yes, I can't tell you how excited we are. It was an emotional time when I took the position, both for my wife and my boys. So I can't tell you how excited we are to be back.
Well, Ryan, we're thrilled to have you here. Congratulations and good luck here this season. We'll have you back on in a few weeks and we'll do a season preview.
Great. I look forward to it.
All right, Ryan Egan, our new men's hockey coach at St. Mary's. We have a new women's hockey coach as well. Sarah Murray will join us next here on the Cardinals Nest on HBC.
Everyone will know the truth. There will be enlightenment for all. The unseen will be seen.
This is fantastic. Never stop searching for the truth.
The quest for extraterrestrial life has been a lifelong one.
There is a greater reality in which we exist.
Ancient Aliens. All new Fridays at 9 on History. Get ready to rock the block. 4 top designers, 4 suburban homes. The renovation showdown is on.
This is my turn. I don't like to lose. This is gonna be fun.
I'm gonna crush the competition.
It's time to rock the block. Rock the Block. Series premiere Monday, October 21st at 9 on HGTV.
You just don't screw up when it comes to people's lives. One simple, stupid mistake.
It's very scary.
It's putting your life at risk.
Oh my God.
What you don't know can hurt you.
That looks very illegal.
Mike Holmes and his son are on a mission to help homeowners make it right.
Let's get to work.
All new Wednesday night at 9, only on DIY Network.
And we're back here on the Cardinals Nest. Dean Beckman, Donnie Netto, Sarah Murray joining us now. We already talked to Ryan Egan, our new head men's hockey coach at St. Mary's, and now we've got our new women's hockey coach, Sarah. So Sarah, thanks for being on the program, your first time on the Cardinals Nest.
Yeah,
exciting, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so.
Sarah, talk a little bit. We had Ryan do the same thing. Kind of walk us through your progression from from a collegiate player at the University of Minnesota Duluth.
Yep.
Now you're the head coach at St. Mary's. There was a whole lot of things, a whole lot of stops in between that. Talk a little bit about getting to St. Mary's, the path that you took.
All right. Yeah. So for my playing career, I went to high school. I played at Shattuck St. Mary's. Had great coaches there, and then graduated. Went to the University of Minnesota Duluth. Also had some great coaches there. Was very fortunate to be a part of we made it to the Frozen Four all 4 years, which is extremely rare, and then we won 2 national titles when I was there, so it was pretty incredible to be a part of that. After that, I moved to Beijing for a year, and I taught at an international school, played some so let me go back. My hockey history is pretty extensive. So after I graduated from UMD, I went and played professional hockey in Switzerland for 2 years. Then ended up going to China and taught in China and played in the men's league in China and realized that I still had fire to play. So went back to Switzerland when I was home training in the summer to go back and play pro in Switzerland. Had an opportunity to do an interview to be the head coach of the Korean women's national team. And they kind of took a chance on me. At that time, I was 26. It was my first full-time coaching job, but with my prior experience living in China and then just my passion and fire to continue to play and improve, they thought I'd be a really good fit for the position. And then when I was my 4 years in Korea, I coached the national team. And kind of our most memorable moment from those 4 years was in the Olympics when I coached the unified North and South Korean team.
I thought she was going to brush over that, but she actually was the head coach of the Korean national team at the Olympics,
Donnie,
which is phenomenal.
Yeah, don't you wish you could forget about playing professionally, like Sarah initially did? But Donnie, you probably want to address the unified North and South team a little more. Right?
If you could just the thing I found really interesting when we were talking a couple days ago, doing a little preview of you being the new coach, you made the comment that the nicest thing about coaching at St. Mary's is your players could understand you because you could speak English. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the adjustment you had to make, because when you're coaching the Koreans, they had a lot of trouble understanding you as a coach.
Yes, yeah, and then there was the cultural piece too, some elements that I didn't understand. So not only did we not speak the same language, but we're from very different cultures. And this kind of really started coming into play, like even my first practices. So I would call them in. She was an athletic trainer, but then worked as my translator, but then also drove a car and got me from place to place. So we had one of our staff was kind of like a multi-purpose tool, and she helped a lot. So I would coach the practice, explain drills, and then she'd stand next to me and translate into Korean for the players. For the first 3 weeks, it drove me nuts, but I would explain the drill. I'd ask, do you have any questions? And they'd say no. They'd go line up and they'd do the drill and they'd screw it up. Call them back in, explain it again. Any questions? No, they screwed it up. So finally, I asked the translator and my team manager, I go, what's going on? Like, why are they not asking questions? But in Korean culture, I'm in a position of authority. If they question my authority, then that means they're questioning my coaching. And they didn't want to do that. And so then we had to break that, where it's just, you can ask questions, it's okay. I'd rather you ask questions than go and screw up my drill and waste our time. And then by the end of it, they were asking way too many. So it's usually how it goes. And then with like the language piece with the North Koreans, I did not know before the North and South unified team that North Korean and South Korean were different languages. North Korean's kind of almost like an old English to our kind of modern slang English. So we actually had to make a English to North to South Korean hockey terms dictionary so the players could talk to each other. So then when we would do a meeting at the Olympics, I would speak in English. We have a translator translate to South Korean, and then my assistant coach would sit in the back with all the North Koreans, and he would translate to North Korean. So it took twice as long, 3 times as long to do everything, so yeah.
But so what did you take away from that whole experience just as a coach? How did it help you become a better coach?
I think kind of like the power of flexing. There were so many things that were kind of being thrown at us that I never expected would happen. Like just situations where the North Koreans, they came 12 days before our first exhibition game. For 2 of those days, they didn't have equipment. And then they did get equipment, and then we found out later that they couldn't, so they had Bauer equipment, but Bauer's affiliated with the U.S., and so they couldn't wear the Bauer equipment, and then 3 days before our first game, they had to start breaking in CCM equipment. So many things where it's like it didn't even come on my radar, and then we had to flex and go with it. And thinking on your toes, definitely, but also kind of the biggest thing was worrying about the things that you can control. In that situation, the government basically told us that our team was going to be unified. They didn't ask our thoughts on or feelings on it at all. They just told us this is what's happening and you have to deal with it. And I think if, as coaches and as players, we sat and we just complained about it, it wouldn't have helped the situation. We had no control. It was happening whether we wanted it to or not. And so it just worked on
when sports and politics collide.
I know, and that's so funny because people were, for all the interviews, they're like, "Where do you stand politically on this?" And I'm like, "I'm just trying to win. I'm just trying to be successful, and I'm not trying to take a stance on anything. We just want."
You're doing your job, right?
We're just trying to have the team come together and be cohesive.
Sarah, one thing I haven't really asked you about is your time playing professionally in Switzerland. Tell us, what is professional hockey like over there?
Yeah, so the league is definitely getting stronger and a bit better. It's interesting in Switzerland because only the import players get paid. So all the other players, so there's usually 5 imports on a team, and all the other players have regular jobs. So it's interesting, the dynamic with that, because they could be pretty angry and alienate the import players, but the Swiss players do a really good job of including them and having us be a part of the team. We have other responsibilities like coaching youth hockey. That was technically our job. So we'd go out and help coach the little kids, which is good for practicing your Italian because they don't judge you. So my Italian is not very good. But yeah, it's a pretty special experience to be able to play hockey. There's not a lot of opportunities for women. Well, now with the NWHL, there are more, but there aren't a lot of opportunities for women to play hockey after their 4 years of school unless they're playing on the Canadian or U.S. national team.
And now you get another new experience coaching at St. Mary's, your first Division III head coaching position. Talk a little bit about the first couple of weeks. How has it been? What's been the biggest maybe adjustment that you've had to make since you've been able to get on the ice with them?
Yeah, it's been really good so far. I feel like with the girls living on campus and working on campus, I feel like I've already established really strong relationships with the girls, more so than I would say with the Korean players, because they would show up for practice and then they'd leave and go home. Whereas our girls live on campus, so if I'm in my office, they'll just come and sit and hang out in my office, which is something that really didn't happen in Korea.
And that's a big if, because she's never there.
Running errands, my lights are always on. Yeah, I know, and I have candy in there, so the girls stop by just for the candy. I don't know if they actually want to talk to me or not, but yeah, and then just all the NCAA compliance rules. I feel like I'm texting or messaging Jen Miller constantly, like, I just did this, is this okay? And most of the time it's okay, sometimes not so much, but yeah, she's been wonderful.
Well, and I'm sure Jason Carter, your assistant, really helps out with that too, right?
He's been incredible. I'm so happy that he chose to stay on. I know that he had some other coaching opportunities, and he's a wonderful coach, and the girls have a great relationship with him, and he's really helped with my transition. He knows more about what's going on than I do, so I'm very fortunate to have him.
One of the new things that you and Ryan have implemented is the first inaugural, because you can't say first annual, the inaugural Cardinal Icebreaker this weekend. Talk a little bit about the event, because it's something that's open to the community, and really, from talking to both you and Ryan, it sounds like it's going to be just an absolutely great day.
Yeah, we're really excited about it. There's so many different elements. There's going to be 2 hockey games, so the women's game is going from 2 to 4, and then the men's team is playing at 7 to 9. So the women's team is playing against Northland, and the men's team is playing against Marion. Between that window is kind of where all the fun and activities happen. From 4 to 5, right after our game, there's going to be a skate with the Cardinals. We'll have skate rentals there, some posters for autographing. That both the men's and women's teams will be on the ice for that. After that, it's kind of our kids zone. There's going to be like hardest shot, stick handling, obstacle course, some fun games like that, some yard games. We're also really excited. We're going to have pups and pucks. So we just kind of partnered with a new rescue, Tales of Hope from Alma, Wisconsin. They're just getting 10 dogs in from puppies in from Texas, and they'll be there. So we'll have like a little puppy play area. And then we'll have fire pits with s'mores, hot drinks, and then we even have the Rubio's food truck coming. So it's a lot of things happening. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Sarah, just a few minutes left here. One thing I think it's important that you establish your own identity, right, as a head coach. But you also have a very famous dad, right, in the world of hockey, and that's Andy Murray. So Andy was a two-time NHL head coach, right, with the Blues and the Kings.
Yeah.
And so tell us about your relationship with your dad and how he has shaped your sort of love of hockey, and does he help you out with coaching at all?
And when you're done, he'll probably critique your interview here,
I
too.
think so. I know. Yeah, don't send
He
him
might be your worst critic.
Don't send him the link. Yeah, let's keep this under wraps. But yeah, no, my dad has been a huge influence on my life, especially with the hockey piece. He's so established. He's coached at every level, juniors, in the Olympics, national team, college. So he has experience in all those fields. So it's kind of tough when he gives you advice and you're like, that's not how it works, because he knows how it works. And I don't necessarily know. We do have different coaching styles, so sometimes we butt heads a little bit. I think he's very strict. I am also strict, but I think with the female athletes, you need to be a little bit looser, a little bit more personable than with the men. So that's where we kind of butt heads a little bit, because we like to, on the women's side, have a little bit more fun. I remember the first time I was coaching in Korea, he came to one of our practices, and I think we played freeze tag for warm-ups, and he almost died. That's not something that you do on the men's side. You go out and play freeze tag, but for our girls, they needed it. They were very stressed about an upcoming tournament, so we just wanted to do something that was loose and fun and get them going. And yeah, after that practice, he's like, I didn't enjoy that. Yeah. But it's different.
For a lot of your players, your returning players now, you'll be their first female collegiate head coach, because all the coaches before you have been males. Yeah. Do you fill a different role that way because you are the first female that they've had as a coach?
Yeah, it's interesting. For me, like, a coach is a coach, and so we have high standards and high expectations, but I think with the female piece, they feel a little bit more comfortable coming in talking to me, and kind of like, already I've had some really good heart-to-hearts with players, and I really haven't had opportunities to do this. Like with the Koreans, they didn't really speak English, and so they couldn't really come in and have like a heart-to-heart and share, their feelings on things. And I've already had some really good, tough conversations with some of our girls, and I think if I was a male head coach, I feel like that may not have been the case.
And I think you've proven already at practice that you can yell probably as loud as any male, correct?
Yes, yeah, the girls kind of laughed at me because when I yell, my voice kind of goes high, and so they were like, we can't hear you. It's almost like a dog whistle, where they can't hear the sound, but I'm working on it, yeah.
Sarah, just about 30 seconds left here. I know you're a very competitive person, right? So you certainly bring that passion and competitive spirit to practice, I'm sure. How have you gotten buy-in from the team on the new culture you're trying to create this year?
Yeah, so we were really asking the girls for a lot of input. So in the locker room, we're going to have 4 pillars of our team identity, and we did an activity where the girls actually picked their words. So they did like a silent conversation or a chalk talk. So we gave them all a big poster paper, and we gave them each a marker, and they just basically had a conversation on the paper, writing it down. And they came up with their 4 words. So our 4 words are zeal, because that's one of the Lassallean values, family, discipline, and commitment. And we felt like if the girls came up with their own identity, then they would buy into it more. All of the decisions, we include the team, and even with like our team mantra this year is give more, be more. So the more we give in class, on the ice, in the weight room, to our community, to our relationships, the better people, the better players, the better athletes we're going to be. So the girls have been doing a great job. I've been asking them to volunteer a lot. And we've been doing it for 2 weeks, and we have some girls who have 18 volunteer hours already.
That's great.
And they're buying in. It's tough. Like, their schedule is super busy. They have class and they have practice, but they're still making time to give back, which I'm very impressed with our athletes.
Well, Sarah, we'll have you back on later this fall to sort of preview the season, talk about some of the players individually. But until then, good luck this Saturday. The event time again is from 2 until about, whenever the men's game gets
2
done,
until
right?
9.
Yeah. So, okay, invite everybody out for that. Sarah Murray, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's Cardinals Nest. Thanks for watching here on HBC.